Hello and welcome to the Aussie Football Passport, your one-stop pod for updates on your favourite Aussie men and women who are playing their club careers abroad. I'm your host, Alex, and this week we have the Socceroos' second and decisive match of the Soccer Ashes to cover, as well as the goal-scoring return of our Matilda's captain. Speaking of goals, there are plenty of them to report. How good. There are also some transfers, the young Socceroos squad for the World Cup coming up at the end of this month, and a whole lot more. So let's get straight into the headlines. So, transfer headlines. This week we have Chloe Berry-Hill, formerly Chloe Lagazzo, joining Como in Italy's second division. So she will link up with Alex Chidiac at Como as they look to win promotion to the first division. In exciting news for young Western United defender, or former Western United defender, I should say, Dylan Leonard. He's joined Schalke 04 in the German second division. It's a 5-year deal and fantastic news for the young defender. Definitely one to keep an eye on and might be a bit of a smoky for the Socceroos in next year's World Cup. Watch this space. All right, let's take a look at some other headlines. And one we actually didn't mention in the intro is Ange Postecoglou. He didn't have to wait too long for another crack in the English Premier League, as he is now the manager at Nottingham Forest. He signed a 2-year deal and will look to repeat his European heroics at Tottenham with his new club, as they are competing in the Europa League, which he is the defending champion of. All right, now the Matildas, they have announced that they will be taking on England, the Lionesses, as they are known, on Tuesday, the 28th of October local time, or Wednesday, the 29th of October Australian time. It'll be in the early hours of the morning, of course. And that will be the final match of the international window in October. Of course, they are playing Wales before that. So a bit of a UK sojourn for our girls, and it'll be a fantastic opportunity for our ladies to measure up against the Lionesses, who, of course, are the current European champions. Now, let's head over to the men's game, where Trevor Morgan has selected his squad for the Under-20s World Cup that will be played in Chile later on this month. And the squad features 17 members of that victorious AFC Under-20 Asian Cup Championship victory, of course, from earlier this year. The squad sees the return of Nathan Amanatidis, Liam Bonatiga, Max Caputo, Daniel Grezkowski, and Reece Yuli, all of whom who have been capped by Australia at under-20 level and involved in this current cycle. There's also the addition of James Overy, who impressed at the under-18 UEFA Friendship Cup back in June, which we also reported on. And of course, he recently signed his first professional contract with Manchester United. And before we leave the under-20 side, a quick fun fact for you. Paul Ocon-Engslar, he can follow in the footsteps of his father Paul, who represented Australia in their fourth place finish at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Portugal back in 1991. They could become the first father-son duo to play for Australia in the FIFA Under-20 World Cup. So fingers crossed for Paul Ocon that he can stay fit for that tournament. Now, to the Australian under-23 men, of course, rounding out their 2026 Asian Cup qualification campaign. They faced China and it ended in a 0-0 draw. So it means the boys will go into next year's tournament to be held in Saudi Arabia, topping the pool with a superior for and against over China. So well done to our under-23s there. All right, now the second match of the Soccer Ashes between the Socceroos and the All Whites, New Zealand. Well, it was much more entertaining than the first leg held in Canberra, with both sides letting off the shackles and it resulting in a 3-1 win for the Socceroos. It was an end-to-end encounter, and our men's player of the week, he managed to start the goal scoring and get a brace in that one. The goals did start in the 35th minute before 3 goals were scored in the space of 6 minutes in some absolute second half madness, featuring Nottingham Forest striker Chris Wood for New Zealand and soon to be coached by our Aussie Ange at Forest, and our man Nestory Irankunda, along with our player of the week, our men's favourite player of the week. Now, speaking of podcast favourites, here's another little fun fact. Alessandro Ciocati became the youngest captain of the Socceroos in 44 years, and he is undefeated whilst wearing the armband. Nice one, Ali. All right, that is it for the headlines. Let's head over to the weekly wrap. Weekly wrap time, and let's start with our ladies in the US&A, where Courtney Vine played 26 minutes for North Carolina Courage in their 2-1 win over Angel City FC, of course, formerly Alana Kennedy's side. Portland Thorns, they drew 1-1 with the Chicago Stars. Mackenzie Arnold played the full game in goal for the Thorns, whilst Caitlin Torpey was an unused substitute. Morgan Aquino, she played the full game in goal for DC Power in a 0-0 draw with Lexington SC. It is her 6th clean sheet of the season. So well done to Morgan there, who will be looking to press her claims to the first choice goalkeeping spot ahead of Mackenzie Arnold. Now, Mexico, let's head over to Mexico, I should say, where Emily Gilnick was a second half substitute for Monterrey in their 1-0 win against Toluca. Now to Sweden, where Avi Luik got a full game for BK Häcken in their 1-1 draw with Atletico Madrid in their first leg of Champions League qualifiers, with the return leg to be held next week in midweek. Now, Daniela Galic, she played the full game and got the only goal for Vizio in their 1-0 win over Algensas. So well done, Daniela, keeping that goal-scoring form going. Jada Wyman, she played the full game in goal for AIK as they came from behind to beat FC Rosengard 2-1 in a good win for AIK there. Kristianstad got a big 2-1 win over Växjö to keep their European hopes alive. Amy Sayer played a full game while Remy Simonson played 89 minutes in that one. Now, Polly Doran, she got 85 minutes for Linköping in their 3-0 loss to Hammarby. They're rounding out the action in Sweden. Now, let's head to WSL action in England, where Caitlin Ford was one of 4 goal scorers as Arsenal overcame an early deficit against West Ham to finish with a big win early in this season. It ended 5-1. Katrina Gorry, she played the full game in midfield for the Hammers, while Ford and Steph Catley started for Arsenal. Kyra Cooney-Cross was an unused substitute in that one. Ellie Carpenter, she played the full game for Chelsea in their 3-1 win over Aston Villa, and let me say there's a bit more to come on that game later in the podcast. Emily Van Egmond, she scored her first goal for Leicester City in their 1-0 win over Liverpool. She played 86 minutes of that game, and well done to Emily. Alana Kennedy, she got 66 minutes for the London City Lionesses, and unfortunately they were smashed by Manchester United 5-1 in that one. Tottenham Hotspur had a solid 2-0 victory over Everton, and we had a couple of Aussie ladies involved in this one. Claire Wheeler, she started but was substituted at halftime for Everton, whilst Claire Hunt played the full game for Tottenham in defence, and Charlotte Grant played 17 minutes off the bench for Tottenham in that one. Charlize Rule, she played a full game at centre-back for Brighton in their 2-1 loss to Manchester City. Of course, Mary Fowler continues her rehab from her ACL injury and was not in the matchday squad. Now, let's head to Germany, where Eintracht Frankfurt fell to a defeat in the first leg of the UEFA Women's Champions League third qualifying round. They lost 2-1 to Real Madrid. Of course, that is Hayley Rasso's one of her previous teams, I should say, but her current team, Eintracht Frankfurt, she came off the bench in the last minute of regular time in that game. Then she backed it up with another substitute appearance at the weekend in her side's 3-0 loss to Jamila Rankin's Hoffenheim. Jamila Rankin played the full game for Hoffenheim in that one and helped them to that clean sheet in defence. Now, Alana Murphy, she played the full game in midfield for SC Sand in their 4-0 win over Turbine at Potsdam. Now over to Italy, where we had a Matilda derby between AS Roma and Sassuolo, ending in AS Roma's favour 3-0 in Serie A Cup action. That means Roma progress through to the semi-final as well. So congratulations to Winona Heatley and her teammates. She started and played the full game for Roma, while Jessica Nash did the same for Sassuolo. Jacinta Galabadaracci, she was a second half substitute for Sassuolo in that game. All right, that is it for the women's side of things. Let's head over to the men's side of things and start in the English Championship, or A-League 2.0, as we like to call it here on the Aussie Football Passport. And Lewis Miller came off the bench in the 70th minute for Blackburn Rovers as they beat Nestory Irankunda's Watford 1-0. Irankunda came off the bench in the 54th minute for his side in that one. Cameron Burgess, he played another full game for Swansea City in a 2-2 draw with Hull City in the Battle of the Cities. Adrian Segacic, he played 76 minutes for Portsmouth in their 0-0 draw with Southampton. Callum Elder, he played a full game for Derby County in a 1-0 win over West Brom. Massimo Luongo, he played a full game for Millwall in a 1-1 draw with Charlton Athletic. Now, dropping down a division to League One, and Joe Gauci was in goal for Port Vale and kept a clean sheet in a 2-0 win over Exeter City. And of course, he did play the full game in that one. Rafael Borges Rodriguez got 18 minutes off the bench for Wigan in their 3-0 win over Doncaster. Now, Caleb Watts, he played 3 minutes off the bench for Plymouth Argyle in their 3-2 win over Luton Town. Now, over to Scotland, where Martin Boyle played 56 minutes for Hibernian on Sunday, while recent Socceroos call-up Jack Iredale played 88 minutes in that game. It was a 3-3 draw with Dundee United. Fellow Australian Zach Sapsford played 89 minutes and scored for Dundee United in that one. So as you can see, there are plenty of goals being scored by our Aussies abroad at the moment, which is great to see. Now, Cameron Devlin, he played a full game for Hearts in a 2-0 win over Rangers. Apostolos Stamatolopoulos, he played 61 minutes for Motherwell in their 1-1 draw with Dundee. Fellow Aussies and teammates John Katrumbis and Oscar Priestman were also involved. John played 56 minutes in defence and Oscar 12 minutes in midfield in that one. Ryan McGowan, he played the full game for Livingston in a 0-0 draw with Aberdeen. Teti Yangi played 89 minutes for Livy as well, whilst Nick Suman was the only Aussie in the matchday squad for Aberdeen, but did not play any minutes as he is the backup goalkeeper. Keanu Bacchus, he played a full game for St Mirren in their 2-1 win over Falkirk. Now let's head to Croatia, where Fran Karacic played 73 minutes for Hajduk Split, whilst recent Socceroos call-up Anthony Kalik was on the bench in that 2-0 loss to NK Varazdin there in Croatian League action. Now, let's head over to Spain, where Matt Ryan played a full game for his new side, Levante, in their 2-2 draw with Real Betis. Let's drop down a division to the Spanish second division, where Alan Mabil played the full game for Castellon in their 2-1 loss to Cordoba. Now over to Italy, Alessandro Cercati played the full game for Parma in their 2-0 loss to Cagliari. Now to Germany, Conor Metcalf, he came off the bench in the 93rd minute as St. Pauli continued their unbeaten start to the Bundesliga season with a 2-1 victory over Augsburg. Captain Jackson Irvine returned via the bench in that one, and it is good to see him working his way back to full fitness. Hopefully he can get more minutes next week. Now to Austria, where Noah Botic came off the bench in the 64th minute for Austria Wien in their Bundesliga 1-0 victory over SK Sturm Graz. Marco Tilio played 45 minutes and scored a goal in a great performance for his new side, Rapid Wien, that game ending 4-1 to his side. Jacob Italiano, he played the full game for his side, Grazer AK, in their 3-0 loss to Blau-Weiss Linz. Now to the Netherlands, where Max Ballard played a full game for NAC Breda in their 2-2 draw with FC Twente. Adon Rustic, he played 83 minutes for Heracles Almelo in a 2-1 loss to AZ Alkmaar. Now, going next door to Belgium, where Ryan Teague came off the bench in the 87th minute in a 1-1 draw between his side, KV Mechelen, against Standard de Liège. Now to Denmark, where Mohamed Toure came off the bench for Randers in the 70th minute, I should say, in his side's 1-0 win over Sonderski Fodbold. His brother Musa Toure was in the matchday squad but did not get off the bench. Now heading north to Norway, where Nicholas D'Agostino played 59 minutes for his side, Viking, and scored a goal in their 2-2 draw with KFUM Oslo. Now to Serbia, where Milos Degenek came off the bench in the 91st minute for his side, TSC Baka Topola, as they beat FK Madaslat Lukani 1-0. Now to Hungary, where Daniel Arzani had a day out. He started, bagged a hat-trick of goals and an assist in Ferencváros's 15-0 win over Svareskend SE in the Hungarian Cup. Now to Portugal, where Anthony Carter got 10 minutes off the bench for Santa Clara, and let me tell you, it was an impact substitution because he laid on the assist to snatch a draw for his side against Portuguese powerhouse Benfica. The final score in that one, 1-1. So well done, Anthony, there. Now to the Czech Republic, where Alamabil got 20 minutes for his new side, Sparta Prague, in their 2-1 loss to Hradec Králové. Now to the USA, where Giuseppe Bovalina came off the bench for the Vancouver Whitecaps in the 87th minute and assisted Thomas Muller's final goal in an absolute rout as his side won 7-0 over Philadelphia Union. Kai Rolls, he came on in the 60th minute for DC United in a 1-1 draw with Orlando City. Patrick Gazbeck, he came off the bench in the 69th minute for Nashville in a 2-1 loss to FC Cincinnati, where our Impact sub Brad Smith was nowhere to be seen, unfortunately. Aidan O'Neill, he started and played 71 minutes for New York City FC in a 3-1 win over Chicago Fire. And to round out the men's weekly wrap, it is over to Japan, where Mitchell Duke came off the bench in the 74th minute and scored the equaliser for Makita Zelvia in a 1-1 draw with Yokohama FC. All right, that is it for the weekly wrap. Let's head over to the players of the week shortly. Well, finally, we're getting some good competition for our players of the week, but let's start with our ladies, and there could be only one, couldn't there? That's right, it is Super Sam Kerr, who made her long-awaited return for Chelsea on the weekend, scoring her 100th goal for the club in their 3-1 win against Aston Villa, as I alluded to earlier with Ellie Carpenter's full game for the side. What a way to make a comeback, huh? Absolutely fantastic news for her, Chelsea, and of course our Matildas. We hope to see Sam Kerr back to full fitness very soon and getting even more minutes as the weeks progress. Now to our men's player of the week. And, well, although Daniel Arzani scored a hat-trick and although we had plenty of goal scorers and assisters this week, it could only be one man in my eyes, and that is Mo Toure. He scored the match-winning brace in the Socceroos victory over New Zealand. It could have been a hat-trick if it wasn't for an offside in the build-up, of course, as well. Mo took his chance, starting up front and scoring his first 2 goals for the Socceroos in a blistering performance. It seems like he's building quite a nice little combination with Nestory Irankunda. So long may that continue, and long may Mo Toure's great form in the green and gold continue as well. All right. Well, that is it for another week of the Aussie Football Passport. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and rate the show on whatever platform you are listening to this on. Of course, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon. Make sure you also follow us on social media, where we will try and share some of these goals that are very good viewing, let me tell you. We are on X, Facebook, and Instagram. All right. Well, next week's show will be back on the normal release day of Tuesday. But thanks to you for listening. Really appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.